Scott Burnside, ESPN.com, alongside Craig Custance, ESPN the magazine. Sunrise, Florida, getting towards the end of day 2 of the draft. Do you think historically now, we'll look back on this and call this the McDavid-Eichel draft, the Mick Eichel draft? Certainly Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel, the centerpieces of this draft. Do you think that's historically how we'll remember the 2015 draft?
Yeah, but I got to say, the moves the Boston Bruins made yesterday, I think we're going to remember that a long time. But ultimately, when you look at the big picture, you step away, we're talking about 2 superstars in the same draft, and this is what we're going to be remembering.
It's interesting. Both those teams, the Edmonton Oilers, who drafted Connor McDavid number 1, and Buffalo Sabres, moments later, drafting Jack Eichel, were exceptionally busy this weekend. Peter Chiarelli in Edmonton making significant moves, adding Cam Talbot in goal. And we know that Tim Murray in Buffalo did the same thing, brought in a goaltender he believes can be a number 1 goaltender, Robin Lehner, from his uncle in Ottawa. And for me, one of the big moves I thought of the draft weekend, picking up Ryan O'Reilly from the Colorado Avalanche. I know in talking to head coach Dan Bilesma recently, like a few minutes ago literally, he was talking about how he felt Ryan O'Reilly is going to offer protection for the young centers in that Buffalo lineup, and especially Jack Eichel. He felt that Ryan O'Reilly's presence, a 200-foot player, is going to be important for the Sabres moving forward. So let me ask you this question. Both teams have been terrible, not just for a little while, but for a long time. Which team's better right now, Edmonton Oilers or the Buffalo Sabres?
Well, I think the fact that you're even asking this question just shows how much the Sabres have improved over the course of this week and the job that Tim Murray has done, because the Oilers had a huge head start. They've had all those first-round, number 1 overall picks, whereas Tim Murray stripped it way down. And I think on some level, I don't know if he learned from the lessons of the Oilers, but he went and built the team the right way, right down the middle rather than down the wing as the Oilers did, and that's no way to build a team. But to answer your question, right now, the Oilers are still better. They had the head start. You're adding Connor McDavid into a group with Jordan Eberle and Taylor Hall, Nail Yakupov. You bring in a goalie in Cam Talbot. You still got to address the defense, but I mean, the Oilers now are going to be pushing for a playoff spot where I'm not sure the Sabres are there yet.
Okay, if there were areas, I mean, we talk about Edmonton defensively, yes, not probably quite there yet. Probably the same can be said for the Buffalo Sabres as well. Both have new head coaches coming in. You know that Todd McLellan is looking forward to that fresh start after a difficult couple of years in San Jose. And, of course, Dan Bilesma, who was dismissed just over a year ago, was off for a year in Pittsburgh. Mike Johnson coming into the Pittsburgh Penguins situation. Which coach do you think is better suited to help these struggling teams take that next step forward? Or is that an unfair question to ask you?
It is an unfair question, yeah, absolutely. Because I love both of those hires. I think you're getting experienced guys for young teams, and I think that's an important distinction. The one thing I will say, though, in the Dan Bilesma hiring in Buffalo, and talking to Dan about Jack Eichel and coaching him, and he said he sat down with Jack at the World Championships with Team USA, watched film of Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, the way they played in the neutral zone, really identified some weaknesses in Jack Eichel's game, and he had some really good examples from the guys he's coached in Pittsburgh, and I think that's going to help him in Buffalo. So that's a good fit, but I think both those coaches are great for those groups.
Good. I always like how you find that perfect middle ground, and you are, in fact, correct.
Thank
you.
Yes.
Well, we hope it's going to be terrific to watch both those players moving forward, Jack Eichel and Connor McDavid, intertwined for all time as a result of this draft, just as you and I are intertwined, perhaps for all time, with our work here at ESPN, and we hope you'll stay with ESPN.com for all of your hockey coverage. For Craig Custance, I'm Scott Burnside.